Governor, I know you say it on your ads a lot, but why are you applying for this job?
I want to start bringing some common sense and civility and motion back to Washington. For anyone who likes the way it is now and likes all the partisanship and let's not move anything unless it goes all our way, I'm not the guy. There's somebody else running my opponent who's good at that, has been doing it for 16 years. But I think a lot of people want to just see some motion. They want to see some compromise. They want to see some progress on these issues. That's what I did as governor. And I'd like to bring that same thing to Washington. I hope people of Tennessee will give me the chance.
I noticed yesterday and today you're kind of mixing policy discussions with the good old-fashioned get out the vote rallies. And why is that just such an important strategy for you in the days?
I really wanted to make sure that throughout this campaign I was talking about some serious policy issues and not just nibbling around the edges of a few things, but two or three big things. And this drug cost thing that I've been talking about is, it really is a big thing. It can make a huge difference in the cost of drugs. The stuff we did with rural broadband certainly would have a huge impact, and frankly, in a lot of your viewing area. And so I've wanted to keep mixing those in and not just make it all about handshaking. But I love this other kind of thing too. It's a chance to meet people you haven't met before and talk with them. I heard a lot in there today privately about issues that people had and suggestions they had. And this keeping in touch with actual voters and actual people is really important, and these help do that.
And you've had a positive vision, you've focused on ideas, but when you have so much outside negative advertisements, how do you kind of counterbalance that, stay positive, yet still respond to all this outside ads?
I kind of came to the conclusion that it was, that I didn't want to just try to respond to everything. That way, just somebody else is setting the agenda as to what you're talking about. I think the thing that helps me is I'm not a newcomer to this. A lot of people have known me as mayor. The whole state has known me as governor. And they look at those ads and they can say, that's not who that is. So I haven't worried too much about specifically responding to everything that was up there. There have been a couple of them that I thought needed a response, but mostly I'm just trying to stay out and talk about a positive vision for our state and how I'm going to solve some of the problems we have.
This quote-unquote caravan's been such a talker nationally. Do you really think that's something Tennesseans are caring about, or what do you make of kind of this illegal immigration being such an issue nationally and being thrown in this race?
Well, the illegal immigration, it's an issue. It's an issue with some voters, and I understand the fear they have. It really is more of a Washington issue. There's a lot more talk in Washington about it than anywhere in the country that I've been. And I've tried to make the point of look. Don't overreact to this kind of a thing. This is the most powerful country in the world, and some poor people who are coming toward the border. Let's just handle it. You've got the military, you've got the border patrol. If people approach the border, let's handle it in a grown-up way and not obsess about it.
Is there one issue that your opponents attacked you on that you find the most outrageous, that you feel like you have to push back on the most?
There's there have been a couple that I thought were just sort of like so obviously 180 degrees from the mark. Obviously the attacks having to do with how someone was treated who was sexually harassed in my administration are just wrong by 180 degrees. I think we did exactly the right thing. We protected the privacy of the person who had the attack. We immediately got rid of the person who had done it. So I think those are those bother me as being just straight up lies. I think also a lot of the stuff on immigration, I've certainly have responded to. We were actually fairly tough on these issues after 9/11, when President Bush, was talking about the border security and wanted some help. We volunteered. We sent 1,600 National Guard troops down to the Arizona border. I went with them, and I think we were a lot of help down there. My predecessor had done a very open driver's license thing with everyone getting driver's licenses. We worked with Homeland Security in a bipartisan way with both sides of the aisle to close those things off. So I think actually we've done, a lot of the really appropriate and effective kinds of things that needed to be done in that regard.
Where do you see the race right now? 11 days through early voting. Shelby has good numbers. Where do you kind of see is this how you sort of expected it so far? Or where do you see obviously we still have the full election day, but so far?
Well, what I expected when I got into this before was that it would be a very close election, that it probably would revolve around turnout and you know, some of the chances of the weather and what the issues are and those kinds of things. But that seemed to me to be a, you know, a bet worth taking, and that's pretty much the way that it is that's turned out so far. I don't like to speculate about everything in advance, and so we'll know on Tuesday night how it worked.
And I know in the statement last night you would like, if you could, meet with President Trump in Chattanooga on Sunday when he visits. But what do you think that says if he's here 2 days before the election, what this says about the race right now?
I was actually quite pleased by it because I think it shows that I'm doing well for him to allocate that time at that particular point. And frankly, while that stuff is really good for fundraising, when helped before, I'm not sure how many votes it drives. I mean, Tennesseans are pretty independent people and make their own minds up, and so I'm certainly not obsessing about it. I do want to emphasize that once I'm elected, he's the President of the United States, and as I've said from the beginning, if he's doing something I think is good for the country, I'm going to be there. It's not a Democrat versus Republican thing.
In wake of Pittsburgh and the mail bomber, there's been a lot of talk about rhetoric. How much of a role do you think the president, your opponent has in setting a positive tone and maybe taking a step back with what's happening?
I think we've got to turn down the rhetoric. I mean, I think what happens is that you always have people on the fringes of society, or the fringes of craziness and these things. And I think what all this rhetoric does, and you know, casting everybody as an enemy and evil who's not with you or for you on something, it just expands that circle and brings these crazies a little more into the mainstream and empowers them to do these kinds of things. So I can't tie any one of these acts to something somebody said, but certainly the conditions we've created with this sort of, you know, sense of the other side is the enemy and is bad and is evil certainly encourages these kinds of acts, and we need to stop it.
You've had a good life. You've been a successful mayor and governor. What's keeping you going in these final days as you're meeting people and really putting this final push in the campaign?
I got into this because I felt I had some unfinished business. That you know, I'm very much about, you know, that government is important, and its correct operation, its effective operation is really important to the country and to our democracy. And I'd seen that falling apart over the years. And I could think of nothing better, and my wife could think of nothing better, you know, for us to do at this point in our lives than try to put an oar in the water and see if I can't be one of the people helping to make some change with that.
Okay. Listen, do we have time for like a quick walk and talk real quick? Or we don't? Or
we have time.
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
okay,
Yeah.
just to mix it up. So
Yeah.
the whole point of this was kind of be behind the scenes, make it a little more different than just your normal
Yeah.
interview
Right.
that when you've been in Memphis. So.
All right.
Do you want to take the